Okay, Steve, we are live on YouTube.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So calling our March 9th Snow Library Board of Trustees meeting to order. I just want to name everybody who's here at the meeting. If you could just acknowledge your name when I call it out. Carolyn Dowd.
Yes, I'm here.
Joan Francolini.
Here.
Mary Beth Fink.
Here.
Kevin Galligan. Martin,
Here.
Reggie Donahue.
Donahue's here.
Tavi Pugno.
Here.
Marilyn Bornmeyer.
Here.
Ron Collins.
Yes.
Mary Ruland.
Present.
Amy Hunter.
Here.
Ian Catlow.
Present.
Jan Crabtree.
Here.
And Jeff, you're here as well. Jeff Paris. So this meeting is being broadcast live on the Orleans YouTube channel. If anyone else wishes to record it, they should notify the chair for permission to do that. So I think we're ready to go. I think the first thing to ask for is if there's any public comment. I don't see anyone from the public here as such. Our next item of business is the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes?
Yes. Yes.
Has anyone or would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second from Mary Beth. I have just two very minor changes to suggest, Jeff. I think on page 3, under what's headed the Youth Services Report, if you go down to the bottom of that paragraph, there's a section that starts with kind of a discussion on a variety of things that Tavi had brought up during his report. So I think it shouldn't be embedded under the Youth Services Report discussion as such. I think when you look at it, I'll be happy to correspond with you offline, but it's misleading to put it under Youth Services Report since it pertained to a variety of issues that Tavi had brought up during his report. And then the only other thing is you don't want to list Sarah as a participant on the meetings. So with those amendments, modest amendments, is everybody okay with?
Yes.
Do we need another motion to do that with the
Motion to accept, Steve.
Thanks, John. I'll second. So all in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, great. Okay, my report. I'll try to keep this brief so we can move to our next item quickly, but I was fortunate enough to attend the MBLC sponsored workshop on strategic planning. Tavi also was in that session with me. You saw the handout, I think that was part of the mailing that Tavi put out to the trustee members that had a bunch of the slides associated with that presentation and links to various resources. I'll let Tavi talk more. We'll talk more about this further down in the agenda when we get back to old business, as you saw on the agenda, long-term planning. Last week, we had a meeting of the Facilities Advisory Committee, which was a good meeting, a frank discussion about the challenges we face. in trying to move forward with a project to renovate and or build a new snow library here in Orleans. I don't think we came to any, dramatic conclusion as to, what is going to make it happen. We reviewed the current state of state financing available for any kind of grant projects for new libraries. We talked about working with the MBLC to try to influence the state process or revise the state process to provide funding for library projects, which is something I will be pursuing with the MBLC. And then we just noted that there's a couple of upcoming meetings where the town will be reviewing the capital improvement plan, 5-year plan, the plan for next year and the 5-year plan, which we're all in. That generated an interesting discussion about keeping our request in for matching a grant from the state, but moving it back a year, but also highlighted the need for a new roof, which Snow needs and has been moved back over the last few years in terms of being delayed as such, and how much to delay that versus moving forward that versus the reality of, gee, are we going to get a new library? So I'm going to be talking with actually Ron and Tavi more about that particular issue. But the two upcoming meetings I wanted to highlight to you, one is on March 17th. It's the select board will be meeting to review the 5-year capital improvement plan. And that's at 6 o'clock. And then the following day, March 18th at 7 o'clock is the joint meeting of the select board and finance committee to finalize that capital improvement plan, 5-year plan to bring to the town meeting in May. So you're all welcome to attend those meetings should you wish. Mary Beth?
Would you repeat what the meeting on the 17th is? Is that just a selectman?
It's a select board meeting, but their agenda, I believe their primary agenda for that meeting is to review the capital improvement plan prior to their meeting with the finance board, I believe. Is that right, Kevin?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay, I'd also like to welcome Tracy to the meeting. Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you.
Sorry, I was late.
No problem. And Tess Laffer, I don't know you, but welcome. Okay, I guess our next agenda item is to revisit the decision we made, I believe it was about 2 years ago, as to a placement for one of the sewer pump stations related to the huge sewer project going on in town. As I think all but Joan will remember, we had a series of meetings and site visits to look at options associated with that. And we eventually voted, it was a 4-3 vote to site it where you've seen in the site plans that were distributed earlier. I don't want to go into too much detail because I know Ron and Tom and the team from AECOM are going to really go through this for us to see if we might reconsider our vote and approve a different siting. So who's leading the discussion? Is it you, Ron? Or
Yes.
Okay, over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name's Ron Collins, and I'm the Building and Facilities Manager for the town, if we haven't met before. Revisiting the pump station location is driven by concerns heard from park patrons, library patrons, neighbors, friends, and town employees from various departments. The primary issue is maintaining the relaxing environment around the picnic area. By moving the pump station to the eastern, well, it's on the eastern property line as it is, but abutting Main Street will preserve that space and ultimately have the chance to enhance that opportunity if public desire prevails. Also, maintaining it on the eastern property line provides maximum flexibility for the library for potential expansions if we go that way in the future. Reggie Donahue from AECom is an engineer with AECom, and he's also our ombudsman for the sewer collection project. If you don't have any questions for me, Reggie has a presentation they'd like to present.
Yeah, hi, this is Reggie Donahue. I'm going to share my screen, and then I am going to put on the slideshow. All right, is that visible?
Yes.
Okay, good. Reggie Donahue with AECom. We are in front of the board asking approval to relocate the pump station at the Snow Library site. I'll start out with background on the project. Right now, the project update includes 32,200 linear feet of 8-inch through 18-inch gravity sewer, approximately 11,400 linear feet, 6-inch and 8-inch force main, and there's about 2,100 linear feet of 2-inch low pressure sewer. And then there is a piping system under Route 6. The system, there'll be gravity and low pressure sewer collection system, 3 pump stations. Pump station at, we call pump station number 1 at the intersection of West Road and Old Colony Way. Second pump station number 2, which is at the Snow Library, which is the subject of this meeting. And then pump station 3, which is at the Cranberry Cove Plaza by the Stop and Shop. The effluent, all the effluent from downtown flows to pump station 1, where it's conveyed across the highway to a treatment plant, the wastewater treatment facility that's under construction at this time. The treated effluent will then be pumped back across Route 6, up West Road to Eldridge Parkway, to Lots Hollow Road, to a recharge site at 32 Lots Hollow Road, which is the site of the water tower. It's adjacent to the Toyota dealership. Right now, the hour has 2 crews, actually 3 crews, 2 mainline sewer crews, one on Brewster Crossroads, another one on Lots Hollow Road, and then a 3rd crew who's installing manhole covers and inverts. Right now, the percentage of gravity sewer installed is approximately 23 to 30%, and the percentage of the 304 working days allowed for the project, it's in the area of 31%. The project schedule is that the construction at the Snow Library will start in September, and that it would be the duration of approximately 2 months. The design considerations for pump station number 2 is reliable and uninterrupted operation, engineered to address initial and future phases of the collection system. Right now, we're installing the downtown sewer system. In the future, there are other areas of town that will be reviewed and are presently under design. The design considerations also include minimizing the environmental impact to the village green and the library property, mitigate odor generation, and then standardize equipment to improve operation and maintenance throughout the systems. The components include a wet well and valve vault, which will be the underground components. In the wet well will be the submersible pumps and the associated piping and valves that will collect the storm water, the rainwater, the sewage, and then it will be pumped up to Old Colony Way, where it will flow by gravity to pump station 1, where it will be conveyed to the wastewater treatment facility. At the valve vault and wet well, there'll be an equipment pedestal. Actually, there'll be a electrical disconnect panel. Included in the system is an equipment pedestal, which will be placed up on the hillside, which will include a control panel, alarm system, transfer switch, an electrical panel, and also there's an odor control system built into the valve vault. And then there'll be a standby generator, which will also be located up with the equipment pedestal on the hillside between the Snow Library and the school. On the left here, we have a GIS view from the town website showing the library is number 67 here, the adjacent Village Green, number 60. And on the right, we have an aerial photograph. I believe it's likely from Google, showing the library building, the parking, and the proposed pump station site. The approved location is in this area. We're proposing that it be installed approximately 170 feet closer to Main Street. All right, this is the site plan that it has been approved. It includes several components, includes well, I'll identify on the site, there's an existing pump chamber, which is a component of the sewage disposal system that presently serves the library building. There's a septic tank close to the building, a pump chamber, and then a leaching facility in the hillside or at the base of the hill. And that's the system that presently serves the Snow Library building. All right, and this identifies the pump station, which includes the wet well and valve vault and the electrical disconnect. Also, up on top of the hill, we're identifying the standby generator location, the equipment pedestal. Then there'd be a concrete access drive down to the pump station. Then at the same time, to be constructed a concrete walkway which provide pedestrian access from the Snow Library parking lot to the Village Green area. And the proposed pump station would be closer to Main Street, adjacent to the parking lot. There, the idea would be to keep it approximately 5 feet from the property line with the Village Green. The electrical service would still come off of Route 28 up through the school property through an easement to the equipment pedestal and the standby generator. Then it would run along the property line to the new pump station site. This would allow for more flexibility in the future for development of the property for an addition for the library. Here we have a landscape plan that we have prepared at the early stages of the project. It's showing up at the top of the hill, we have the generator, the equipment pedestal, proposed screening around the structure so to be screened from the library as well as the Village Green. We have the pedestrian walkway, which is similar to what was shown on the previous plan. Idea to get the pedestrians down to the Village Green from the parking area. And then the new pump station site, which is adjacent to the library entrance in Main Street. The wet well and valve vault would be kept close to the property line, approximately 5 feet off the property line, in order to minimize the impact and provide more flexibility for future use of the property. The alternative location will reduce impact to the Village Green's primary picnic area. Being out front, it won't be by the picnic benches as it is proposed now. Preserve the library's potential option for building and site improvements. Maintaining the pump station power source originating from Route 28, as I mentioned. And then the standby generator and the control pedestal would still be up on the hillside. Which I think is a major factor is during construction, there won't be any impact on the on-site sewage disposal system that presently serves the library. With the construction of the pump station out by the road, there'll be no need to provide temporary service during the 2 months of the construction. And then after construction of the new pump station, then they would connect the library and abandon the existing septic system that presently serves the library. This gives you a general idea of the components. As you see in this picture on the left, we have equipment pedestal that will actually be located up on the hillside with the generator, and there'll just be a disconnect panel that will be located at the wet well, and that's a small structure, approximately 3 feet by 3 feet by 1 foot deep, and would be on a stand. The electrical, the equipment pedestal will be up on the hillside as well as the generator. And then the access hatches will be at finished grade with a parking lot. And then there'll be landscaping is proposed to screen the pump station area from the village green as well as the road. We have here are some pictures of ongoing construction on Brewster Crossroads, just to give you an idea of, it's very tight in that area. At this point, I'll take any questions that you might have relative to the project.
So Reggie, I've got a few questions.
Yes.
I'll use Chair's prerogative to go first. So in no particular order, will we lose any parking spots related to this placement? That's one question.
Yeah, there's no intention to remove parking spaces. The maintenance of the pump station would take place before the library is open. Occasionally there may be an emergency when they have to go by, but it's close to the entrance where there's very limited parking. There may be some designated parking spaces there, but I don't think people use them because they're so close to the entrance. But in general, it will have very minimal impact on the parking and the library use.
Well, just to be clear, so it looks to me from the drawings, there's probably at least two parking spaces that the access goes through to get to the proposed new siting.
Yes, you're correct. There are two, but the maintenance can be specified through the operation contract that it be performed during off hours of the library prior to 10 a.m. So that no heavy equipment or trucks are out there, utility trucks during the library.
We don't anticipate that there's a need to restrict parking in those spots when the library is open. Is that what I'm?
No, because there'll be adequate space to get to the pump station in that area adjacent to the curb cut.
Okay, all right. Also, just the box that is going to be above ground in that spot, you described it as 3 by 3 by
1.
1 or something, but
Yes.
it'll be on a stand, so it will be below eyesight, so to speak.
It'd be approximately 4 feet high, and it is what we had previously proposed and had been approved at the other location.
Okay.
It's really a safety consideration so that if anyone is servicing or working on the pump station, that there can be electrical disconnects within visible or within sight of where they're working.
And this new site will require the removal of one mature tree at that corner? Is that
Yes,
correct?
there's an ornamental tree in that location that'll have to be removed.
And I guess my final question for the moment is the generator site and control panel there, that hasn't changed from what we originally agreed. That's still the same siting?
Correct. There's no change to the generator site or the equipment pedestal.
Okay. All right, I'll stop. Joan?
Okay, can you go back to the drawing instead of this question slide? Mark, just go back to where the drawing was.
This one?
Yeah. So I have two questions. I think right where you're showing it, there's a big green sign now on a big pole that says, Route 28. Is that right in line with that big sign that's out there?
It's close to the sign. I can't tell you exactly where it is, but if necessary, the sign could be relocated, and it would be within the right of way of the roadway. So it would be we're 5 feet off the property line. So I think there'd be adequate room for the sign.
Yeah, because I was just thinking maybe you just jump it all together. This way, it's not like you see that, then you see the sign. So you would see the sign, and that sign's not so nice to look at anyway. And then the other question is, when you plant these trees, are you planting trees or bushes or native hedges that are taller than the equipment you're going to put there? Or are you planting small trees so they grow to be taller?
My understanding is that they would be planted fairly substantial trees in order to provide screening right away. Not all of them will be tall initially, but there'll be enough that they show that it would provide screening of the pump station.
Good, have fun.
Great.
Mary Beth?
My question is about disruption to service, because having been in town for the last forever since COVID started, and watching the progress that is slow but steady and to be commended, how much disruption is going to be involved with this project, and what is the timeline? You said it would be installed within a month, but I look at Brewster Cross Road, which has been a mess for several, well, are we going into week 3 or something?
Yeah, well, okay, to address that, the schedule is 2 months, and with the new location, there'll be less impact. There'll be
Of
some
course.
impact. The existing sewer line that was installed during the Main Street project was installed in the entrance. So there'll have to be some work and letting people in around the equipment during construction. So I don't anticipate that they'll shut down the library. Any disruption would be very short, and will be found in other areas. We are able to let people in. They are using police details so that people can get in and out during construction.
Okay,
And
so,
especially with this location close to the road, I think it'll have less impact than what's presently approved.
so the trucks, the huge trucks that will be involved will be not blocking the parking lot during business hours, or they'll be blocking Main Street, or how?
Well, if there is any blockage, it'll be very temporary, and there'll be traffic details, police details there to make sure that the people can get in and out.
Okay, so the parking lot will not be closed during.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And you said the timeline was 2 months from putting the shovel in to finishing it?
Yes,
And when did that start?
would be this coming September.
Okay, so by Thanksgiving, it should be finished.
Yes.
Right, and is that road, the access walkway is going to be installed at the same time?
Yes, that's my understanding. I mean, the primary project is to install the initial project is to install the electrical, the pump, valve vault, wet well. Then the walkway may come later, depending on the project schedule. Also, depending on if that's modified, if there's any changes. But any changes would be approved by the library. But I'm not sure the exact schedule of that, but it would be part of this project. The work between. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't.
May I?
You want to speak, Tom?
Yes, please. Actually, I'd like Ron to speak to that. Reggie might not be fully up to speed on the discussions of the walkway. If it's the trustees' wish to put in at the same time or whatever, as part of this project, we're fine with that. It's up to the trustees. But Ron has had some further thoughts and conversations about the walkway to actually make it nicer. Ron, you want to jump in for a minute?
Yes. So Tavi and I, we've received comments and requests for a couple of years now about having accessibility into the park. And my thought is that maybe we don't do this section now and potentially hire a landscape architect to really look at what we could do for accessibility, not only to like the band concert area, but over to the picnic tables. And if you don't mind, I just want to say one thing. The construction for 2 months, don't forget that this system does not go online until a year later. And so there will be additional disruption because ultimately we have to decommission the septic system to the library when the sewer system goes online.
Good
So
point.
it will, there'll be further disruptions at least a year later when that occurs. And so that's why we wouldn't want to put that walkway in until all that work takes place. When you look at the plan that's currently on there, you see in lightly shaded, the dotted crosshatch for the existing leaching field, and then the pump station is right next to the walkway. So those will definitely be modified And then, once the septic system, the sewer system's online, then that will be decommissioned. And also, if you go over towards the building, Reggie, can you take your pointer to the first septic tank right there?
Yes.
That is also another tank that is to be decommissioned once the sewer system goes online, because you don't want to be collecting the solids there. Basically, you want to take the full effluent from the building right to the pump station.
So could I ask a question, Ron? So the timeline actually is construction of the sewer pump station in September to November at the front part of the property. We'll wait a year. So the following September or 2022, the sewer would be, the septic system would be decommissioned and the sewer would be active, online. Is that correct?
Let's say nominally, and maybe Tom, Paris, or Reggie will have a better handle, but yes, it's going to be at least a year.
Maybe more.
Yeah, hi, this is Reggie. Yeah, they're actually two independent projects. Really, the presentation here was relative to the construction of the pump station. The connection of the facility, which would come at a later time. Once the wastewater treatment facility is online and the collection system is discharging to the facility, then there would be a notice to proceed sent out. This is a town facility, so anytime after that, and likely to be next fall, then they would connect the system, but that would be an independent project. And there would be some disruption, but still, I think it would be minimal and they can work around vehicles getting in and out of the facility.
And I'm correct, right, that does, regardless of where if we had stuck with the original placement, that all would be true anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
however, with the other placement, there would have to be a temporary measures such as using the existing pump chamber or the existing septic tank as a tight tank and pumping it on a regular basis in order to provide sewage facilities to the library. Now, with the proposal of installing the pump station adjacent to Main Street, the existing system that serves the library will be able to be retained, and there will be no disruption of service of that system until the system is online.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Go ahead, Tom.
I just want to go back to Ms. Francolini's comment about the screening, bushes, trees. So my understanding is the tallest structure in the area of the pump station is about 4 feet tall, which will be easy to screen from a height standpoint. But as Reggie said, is our full intent to put an adequate screening, really to satisfaction most of you people and the public. But also bear in mind, we're not going anywhere. So this project, gets completed and you still have some concerns and want some improvements, we're more than happy to make some modifications on the screening, just to make everybody happy. And we're also happy to talk about details of how we finish this off. For example, using maybe bricks in that paved area, if you want to call it paved bricks, to match the sidewalks that are adjacent, etc. So we're very open to the aesthetics of the project.
Thank you, Tom. Other questions?
Steve, I have a question. I have a couple of questions. One, you mentioned something about the odor. And what do you mean by that? I mean, is it going to be, do you have to vent from where it's collected at that pumping site?
Yeah, there's a venting system. However, the design includes an extensive odor control system. There's the valve vault is oversized in order to provide, or in order to include large carbon filter canisters. So we've gone above and beyond what is typically done for a pump station in order to provide additional odor control. So in order to minimize any impact from the pump station.
Okay, that was one question. The other question was, what's the rationale behind having the control pedestal and the generator way up on the hill? Would it not make any sense to put it near the whole pumping station.
Well, I think this goes back to
side-
the original, I'm sorry, this goes back to the original application, and there was a concern about the power running across the village green. The present power for the sewage disposal system and pump station that presently serves the library, the power runs right through the middle to a control or to a electrical box out on Route 28. Direction we had been given is that we wanted to come off a pole on the south side of the project and come in through that property in order to have the minimal amount of impact on the village green.
Yeah, this is Tom Priest. Let me add on to that also, Reggie, is both that equipment pedestal and the generator are fairly large components that are above grade. That pedestal is somewhere in the order of magnitude of 6 foot by 6 foot by 3 foot. The generator is 8 foot tall, 7 to 8 foot tall, 6 feet wide, 14
Harder-
feet long type of thing. So they're very large. So to bring them all the way to the front would be,
Yes,
much more difficult to
or-
screen.
Yeah.
Question.
Go ahead, Jen.
Okay, two things. One is, I don't know sewer systems. When you're decommissioned, does that just stay in the ground or do you come in and dig that up?
Yeah, the decommissioning would include pumping the systems out, the components, pump them out, break the bottoms, and backfill them with clean sand. So the concrete structures would remain in the ground, but they'd be backfilled with sand.
Okay, thank you. But then we also go to the picture that's up right now, where up by the street, and yeah, okay, now those two squares that you see there, they're flat to the ground?
Correct. The what you see is a concrete collar around the hatches.
Okay,
And then they would be at grade. And then the only component that would be above grade is the electrical disconnect panel.
the 4 foot.
Yes,
Where's the 4 foot? Where's that on that map?
it would, I think in generally in the I'm sorry.
Probably be in the middle, right, between them.
It'd be in between them and to the back where the electrical would come in on this side. So it'd be in the back side of this, but up on the same level as the vaults.
Okay, and
the
then that
hatches.
other flat area, that big gray area, that is just,
Service.
Yeah, that would be an area where a truck could pull in,
Oh.
and then they'd be able to service equipment if they had to pull pumps or do maintenance on
so
it.
that's where we might do brick on top of that?
That is my understanding is that it would be brick to match the brick in the sidewalk.
Okay, and that's all right, trucks can drive on that and not break
Yes.
brick and whatever. Okay, thank you.
So go ahead, John.
I just want to know, so everyone on this call that's presenting, everyone is highly in favor of putting this by the street? Is it like unanimous, everyone from the town and everyone from?
That's
who's
my
presenting?
understanding, yes.
Yes, John.
Great.
So Reggie, so I just want to be clear. So there will be a trench that will go the length from the generator all the way to the pump station, correct?
Thank
That will.
Yes,
supply
and it
power.
would run along the east property line
Yeah, go there.
and
Yeah.
then go up the hill in between the trees to the generator and control pedestal.
And that wouldn't damage any of those trees?
The intent is to have the lines go around the trees and not remove any of the trees and avoid the drip line, so to have minimal impact.
So that's obviously
do
a much
think-
less impact than the trench that would have had to come to the original site.
Exactly.
I do
Correct.
think we were going to originally lose some of those trees
With that was with
with
the
the
big,
old plan, right?
yes, the pumping.
Yes,
big-
yeah, we were definitely, but that's a much bigger pipe, I assume, than
Right.
we're talking about now. This trench needs to be dug for, correct?
Yes.
And
Mary Beth?
is that work going to be done this fall also?
Yes, that would all be part of the pump station construction.
So that the planting to replace the grass and get it all looking good by next spring would be done this fall, so that there would be
That's the intent, and any planting that isn't completed this fall would be completed in the spring.
Okay.
Kevin,
Because what I'm asking is I don't want a trench of mud running there all through the winter next winter. Is basically I want that covered up, planted and or sodded or whatever. Probably.
Yeah, any areas disturbed by construction will have erosion sedimentation control measures employed in order to prevent sedimentation and erosion of the hillside or any of the areas of the site.
Okay.
Kevin, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to follow up to kind of give assurance to the trustees considering this and to keep expectations clear, specifically Mary Beth, in terms of getting, a schedule in your head. I do think that the pump station will need some follow-up restoration in the spring, just by virtue that we'll be going into the winter. They will keep things in good shape to go into there, but I think the better approach to planting vegetation for survivability is really to do it in the spring. So that's, I think, how you probably see this go. There's a lot of flexibility working with this contractor. Robert Biauer has really been wonderful, taking direction, request, and certainly will adjust to conditions because none of us want to predict what next winter will be. But I can assure you that, as Tom Daly said, this is a multi-year contract. There are significant obligations and holdback that the town has, which is leverage over the contractor to be sure that it's done to the complete satisfaction of the town and yourselves.
Steve?
Go ahead, Mel.
Two more questions. In terms of the power that goes to the generator, will that come, you mentioned it coming from 28, so that'll have to be, I don't know, on your going across part of the park there? Is it, would that
Well,
be right?
actually,
It's going to be an L or a right angle kind of thing?
the town has an easement from the school and the intent, and we went out there and laid out the run so that it wouldn't have any impacts on trees and so that it wouldn't be running through the garden and the park area.
Excellent. Okay. And my other question was, it certainly makes sense to me to have the pumping station as close to the main line for functioning. You don't have to pump it so far. So I'm very pleased that this has been reconsidered.
Me too.
So other questions? Not seeing any. It seems to me, Ron.
Hi. Just a quick question. So we know that next fall will be the construction of the pump station. The following fall will be the decommissioning of the septic system. And Tom Parise or Reggie, in that scope of work, which is included in ours contract, do they also decommission, or what do they do with the leaching field?
Where is the leaching field?
Ron,
As you can see right on the plan, the leaching field is in this area. My understanding, if it's just a stone leaching field, then it would just remain as it is. If it's concrete structures, which I don't believe it is, if there are galleys, then they would be filled with sand.
It's a Cultec system.
So Cultec, then it would be filled with sand.
So there will be disruption to that area.
There will or will not? I didn't hear that.
Well, there'll be some disruption as if they have to fill it with sand, but any disruption will be regrassed. I mean, right now it's a grass area. So if it needs to be disrupted in order to be abandoned, then that would be restored at that time.
Thank you.
Another engineering question. The septic system, or the tank, which you said is very close to the front entrance right now.
Yes.
Will that have to be removed? And then that means disrupting the parking lot. And also, will it use the same, flow or systems that already exist there to get?
No, the existing system will be abandoned in its entirety.
Okay.
The sewage from the building sewer will be intercepted and it will flow to the pump station. The septic tank will remain. They'll lift the covers, backfill it with sand, and then it'll be disconnected. So there'll be no disruption of the adjacent parking area.
So Reggie, how does it connect to the new pump?
Right.
There will be, there'll be a 6-inch building sewer. So the extent is probably right now, I expect this is a 4-inch line that would connect with a T or Y, an angle to a 6-inch line that would flow to the pump station.
Can you draw that on the
Can you
map?
show us the line? Is it going to go right to the parking lot or what? What is it?
Yeah, it would go across the parking lot. It may be that when I'm sorry. Back. There we go. Depending on how we have this system, we may have a manhole in this area. It'll probably discharge to a manhole in this area where the existing sewer system will be connected to the pump station. There'll be a manhole, and it's likely the flow from the library will be in that vicinity. So there'll be a new line across the parking lot to either the pump station or to the manhole, the piping out that goes out into the street.
So when that part of the project happens, that means the parking lot will be shut down?
I think they can do it in lengths that they can work around it with police details or flaggers. They can, they'll be working, it's a shallow trench. So I don't anticipate that it's going to be the level of disruption you would have from construction of the pump station. And I think it would not, it's unlikely that it would shut down the facility, because during the connection, the existing tank could be used as the existing septic tank could be used as a tight tank. So you would still have facilities in the building, and cars should be able to come in and out during construction. They'll just have to change the traffic flow depending on where they are on the installation of the pipe.
And again, that would be phase 2, so to speak.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Steve,
Steve.
Tom Parisi here again. We can have that discussion with Tavi and the contractor as we get closer on the best routing to minimize disruption of the parking lot and the operations of the library. So I mean, another option is just go straight across the parking lot to the edge of the parking in the grass area, and then go along that grass area, and hopefully maybe avoid digging up more of the parking lot. So there's a few options. Obviously, all those details haven't totally been worked out yet, obviously, but we'll work with the library trustees to minimize those impacts.
Thanks, Tom. Joan?
Just really quick, I've driven to Agway when it was blocked. You guys did an amazing job letting people in. I just went to the dump. I mean, I think you do a really great job of just detouring traffic the easiest way. And I want to give you guys a lot of credit for that. And I see that's what happened with the library. Either way, we're going to have a little disruption. We're getting sewers in the town. We're going to live with it. You guys minimize it. The police officers are great. So I think it's been a fabulous project, and I really support, the way you've been doing it. So I think all this worry about disruption is just going to be managed when it happens. So
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, back to Ron. So this walkway, we're probably going to table that for now.
Well, let me interject if I could. It seems to me now we've got a couple of decisions to make. One is to approve this new siting or not, and then also to decide whether to delay the walkway, as you were speaking to, Jan, and kind of revisit that after more discussion. And I think Ron threw out the possibility of working with a landscaper. I guess one question I have is who's paying for that consulting work with a landscaper? Is that something the town would cover out of your budget, Tom, or Ron?
It's nothing you guys have to worry about. It's on us to build this entire project in its entirety. We just appreciate the support.
And then the other thing I would throw out there is, assuming we were to delay the walkway, I think, as we have discussed previously, Tom and Ron, kind of rethinking the parking lot as well, in terms of improving the accessible parking spots. It should be part of all that thinking, since the parking lot's going to be torn up anyway. So, but anyway, that's for, so I guess what I'd like to suggest is, this is now for the trustees. Are we all in agreement to delay to move forward with a vote? Does someone want to make a motion to vote on approving the new siting? And as part of that, delaying for further discussion, the construction of the walkway.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Make-
Okay. Jeff, did you get all that?
Dave, just, could I jump in?
Yes, go ahead, Kevin.
One quick one, because it really is good that we've got everyone here. Would someone from kind of the engineering side want to at least set some expectation when, given the contractor will need to be notified of a revised scope for the walkway, the latest that this revised walkway wants to be decided?
Thanks, Kevin. Good point.
I could speak to that. I think it's very important that the decision be made today because there's a long lead time for the equipment. The system has to be redesigned as well as negotiations with the contractor. Then the equipment has to be submittals from the contractor, they have to be reviewed. Then the equipment has to be constructed. So in order for them to start their work in the fall, it's important that decision be made today.
Reggie, I don't think that was Kevin's question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
His question was related to rethinking the walkway, the pedestrian
I'm
walkway.
sorry.
And
Yeah.
what kind of timing do
Yeah,
we
Steve,
have to work
I can
with?
probably answer that, Steve.
Go
So,
ahead, Tom.
yeah, it's not, that one's not as critical. As Ron had said earlier, obviously, when you come back for the second phase for the decommissioning of pieces, specifically the pump station, it's right where the walkway is shown right now, where the general area. So you wouldn't put it in this fall, you'd put it in sometime next year. So obviously, there's more time to deal with that with the contractor. If we want to go through Robert Hour or if the town wants to do something separately, but we do have time to work on that one. The critical one, as Reggie said, is really the pump station change.
Okay, but just to be more specific in terms of, yes, we have time, does that mean we need to make a decision by the end of the calendar year around that, or sooner than that, or later, or?
I would say by the end of the calendar year, and I think that's subject to the discussion with Ron and Tom relative to, getting a landscape architect
Right.
and working with Harvey and the trustees of where we think the walkway may want to go, and to move forward with that.
Ron, did you want to add anything?
Yes. Just talking with Alan McLennan yesterday about the CPC funds and all the projects that were approved this year. If we determine that something bigger or more elaborate, in line, I could see you putting in a proposal next year for the CPC funds. That'd be a great project for them.
And those submittals are due by November, usually the day before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay, so it just sounds like through the summer, obviously, we need to have some discussions and work associated with what the vision is related to a pedestrian access down to the Village Green.
And then will the town pay for a landscape architect consultant
I
to help
believe
work through that?
Tom indicated that, yes, that the town would do that. Correct, Tom?
Yeah, we'll take care of that. And we'll work closely with you guys, make sure you're happy with it.
Great.
So Steve, could we just vote on taking this forward? Because I have to leave a little bit
Right.
after 5.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, is there any more discussion on the motion? And just to reiterate, the motion is to approve the suggested new siting and to delay the implementation of the pedestrian walkway for further review. So, and I believe it was already moved and seconded. So why don't we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 It looks unanimous. So I think that's a 7-0 vote in favor of the new siting. So Ron, thank you for bringing this forward to us. And Tom and the whole team, engineering team, thank you for your time and the presentation. And you guys are good to go should you wish to.
Great. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
you can take that off your desktop. Okay, great. Thanks, Reggie. Um, Okay, well, thank everyone for their attention to that important item. So I think we're ready to move on to the financial report. Carolyn, do you want to?
Yes, thank you. The report for February 2021. Under town accounts, expenditures, salaries were $36,997.81. Operating expenses, $23,527.16. Under Friends accounts, expenditures for Comcast and copier, $212.76. Take Care of Yourself program, $100. Under revolving accounts, deposits. The first of two deposits for state aid for FY21, $4,987.34. General contributions, $120. Postcards and booklets from the Cummings account, $4. Under trust funds, deposits. Estimated interest for February, $500.
Thank you, Carolyn. Any questions for Carolyn on the financial report? Okay, moving right along. Tavi, over to you for your report.
Thanks very much, Steve. So the status of library operations, we are still continuing right now to do contactless curbside service for the full 47 hours. I am in weekly meetings with other libraries in the area, trying to determine a possible schedule for a resumption of open browsing. It's a little more complex, unfortunately, this time, I thought, than the last time, because there are some other issues going on, such as the possibility of there being surges and the libraries being concerned about the frustrations and the confusions, not only to the patrons, but also to the staff having to provide the service. With more people getting vaccinated, and then still people not being vaccinated, there's the concern that people may relax the using of masks and social distancing. And with some of the libraries are planning resumption of open browsing hours, and some of the libraries are not even discussing the topic yet. So it's been a little more complex, I think, than the first time. But I'm continuing to be in talks with the other libraries. In fact, later on this week, I have another conversation on that. But we're emphasizing again to do as much service as we can that people want, and trying to keep as many people safe as we can. The library water fountain, which is a project I think we've all been looking forward to, and Ron and the DPW have been working very hard on, and have really done a great job with. That's progressing very nicely, and it's worked out great that we haven't had public in the building right now when it's being done, because there is a lot of work. It's quite an extensive project to doing it. But as Ron was showing me, and I was observing from the plumber, they're putting in all a very heavy piping, and they're building out the wall to make it sturdy and safe. And I think everybody's looking forward to it. The water fountain, also with the bottle refilling station. So it's coming along nicely. They're working very hard on it. And I think one of the things that came to my attention about it is that they're really working to make sure that it's a fine finished product, and that, everybody's mindful that it's a public building. And so it's probably going to get more use and more wear and tear than, maybe somewhere else. And they've got that right in the forefront. So I just would like to thank the plumbers and the electrician's involved too, and especially Ron for coordinating all this. And it's coming along very nicely. The long-range planning workshop that Steve and I attended, just a couple of things that I put in my report. I was that very much came to my attention was the need for flexibility, especially tailoring it to each individual library, and also trying to put together a plan that really the emphasis on it working for your library, because even though it is a requirement of the MBLC, it's really important, the workshop emphasized, that it be a document that's very beneficial for you. And so actually, we should look forward to working with it and looking at it and using it as a guide rather than, saying like, here's the document and we submitted it and that's it. So, so I think that workshop was very, very, very important to attend. Community-wide read in Orleans. I was invited by the Orleans Elementary School librarian, Kara Ewan, to read to Mrs. Updegraff's 3rd grade class. And I did that just last week and really enjoyed it. It was the first time, though, that I had to do it virtually. These were all done virtually, whereas in the past, I've done it for 8 years, and it was previously in the classroom. So you miss a lot of that contact with the students, but still, it was really fun. I look forward to doing it again. This year, I read The Library Mouse by Daniel Kirk. And also, I'll be mentioning later on, Anne also did a community-wide read. And I'll talk a little bit about the book that she did as well. And then finally, we had a virtual program on decluttering your home. And that was on Thursday, March 25th at 11. And we had 14 people attending, which was really excellent for an online program. Here, it's the first one we've done. And Allison Bevan presented it, and everybody had very positive comments about it and really enjoyed it. The timing of the program was great, a wonderful thing to think about, this time of year in the winter. And then, yes.
Looks like it hasn't happened yet.
March isn't that?
No, oh, I'm sorry. That was February 25th. Sorry about that. That was a typo. Yep, February 25th. And then in the March Youth Services report, so Anne has been planning all along the summer reading program. This year, the theme is Tales and Tales. And Anne did apply for a few Cultural Council grants. She's definitely having Jungle Jim back again, and Bates and Ticknell, who are singers. And they haven't really decided what options are open to them because, again, as I've said, there's been a lot of discussion and not a lot of decisions made simply because of the uncertainty. But I think the performers in Anne are all willing to do whatever it is to provide the best experience and the experience they can for it. And she's also adding some new story walks and a scavenger hunt for the summer. She's made some take and make craft kits that are always tailored to the season of the year. So one of the kits is rainbows for St. Patrick's Day coming up and a bunny for Easter. And she goes into detail in the report that I included as to what it's involved. But it's a really fun exercise and something that you can do, without being in the library. And she's finished weeding the section, the special collections. She's working on the special collection. She's finished the picture books, and she's scheduled and had last week the Zoom session. She was reading to the 1st grade elementary school students the book Miss Brooks Loves Books and I Don't, as part of community-wide read. And by the way, other officials from the community and other people in the community also participate in this day as well. Mm-hmm. And then she's continuing to give readers advisory both on the phone and preparing little kits whenever requested from people.
Amazing.
Thanks, Tavi. Questions, Joan?
Well, 2 things. She also came to the CPC meeting that we had to present Storybook Trails, which if you follow through, if you were watching it, it's going to get presented. There's no question. So it's very highly supported, the Storybook Trails. So that was good news. The other question I just have, Tavi, is, the Seawolf books that just opened in town from the young couple that opened it, mm-hmm. they have a book club. And I'm just wondering if there's something we can do together with them, because we're all supporting books and small business and in the town, and I don't know who would do that, but I was just thinking there was something we could potentially do with them together, and I don't know what that is, but I want to throw it out there,
Library does have a book club. Kaimi does a book club.
right?
Yeah, Kaimi and I alternate doing the
But
book
you
club.
know, that's an interesting idea. I wonder if Tavi, if you or Kaimi might want to reach out to them just to, you know, say hello and start a conversation and just kind of see, you know, what kind of synergies or ideas emerge.
At one point, Tavi,
So, I
what?
mean, what about the Booksmith music?
No, Booksmith's not
Yeah,
around
no.
anymore.
Nobody, that's the only one now.
It's the only one.
And they are very open to working with individual book clubs, you know, and the lifetime learning.
Right. Because I know at one,
They're really gifts.
yeah, and if you had a book club, Tavi, and someone had to buy books, it'd be nice if they knew what book you were going to have at the library. I know at one point when there was a town read, I bought a book from who was there last, but it'd be nice to throw business their way to say, if you're going to have this book, go to them. Just, you know, to really help support the community.
Yeah, I mean, if we're, you know, looking to purchase some books, I certainly would consider doing that. I mean, we've worked with the Booksmith when they were there, and we've also worked with Main Street Books when we had to order large quantities of books. So, yeah, I mean, I certainly can contact them and just introduce
Yeah,
myself.
Jonathan and Kaz, they're a great young couple. They live right in town. It would be really, really sweet. And even when you're doing some of these reads, if the parents want to buy those books, it'd be nice for them to know what books you're using for these reads. And that they could at least know what's coming up and they can highlight them. So.
Right. Yeah. And I think as Mal mentioned too, for lifetime learning classes too, sometimes it might involve, you know, purchasing books. So yeah, no, that's fine. I will definitely keep them in mind of, you know, working with them and seeing how we can collaborate.
That would be great. Thanks, Tavi.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments, Mary Beth?
Steve, I apologize, but I have to leave the meeting.
Okay, all right. Bye-bye.
Mary Beth.
Bye.
Okay, moving right along, it's over to Tracy for the Friends Report. Thanks for being so patient, Tracy.
Oh, no problem. It's interesting to come to these meetings and listen to what goes on. And I was interested in the fact that we relocated that pumping station. Last time Karen Kishpot talked to you folks about Library Giving Day, which is coming on April 7th. At our meeting, the board listened to my presentation, but they felt that it was really a rush to get to the April 7th date, that we would not have enough time to be prepared this year. So they voted to table it for this year. We can certainly participate next year, and that gives us a lot more time to get ready for it. So that's what we did. Cooler heads prevailed than mine. On the other hand, though, we did get the Brotherton Foundation grant of $5,000 that I applied for in the fall. And so we're going to be hosting a storytelling session this summer between July 7th and August 26th. And I'm thinking of having one storyteller a week come and present out on the Village Green because of COVID. We'll be doing socially distanced storytelling. And I have 6 storytellers lined up already who gave me verbal agreements in the fall. So now I'm in the process of contacting them and solidifying dates for the summer.
Right.
Yep. And
congratulations.
So thank you. I was glad to get it. And everybody seems very excited about it. So that's the good news.
Tracy, are they for all ages, the storytelling?
These are going to be presentations for families.
Families.
We're thinking that to hit about 5 o'clock in the evening when families are coming off the beach and before dinner time. And most story presentations are about 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm trying to get kind of a multicultural slant on it. So I have Tinknell and Bates are coming, Len Cabral, Bill Harley, Diane Edgecombe. So they're mostly people from Massachusetts and the Rhode Island area. And I might need to get a couple of more people to spend all the money. Any other questions about that?
Well, if you need help promoting it, Tracy, let us know, because like the rec, we have about 500 people that get the rec newsletter, and anything we could do to help promote it, because it sounds like a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Joan. We'll be doing flyers and mailing postcards to families and things like that. So, but I'll keep you in mind. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And Lifetime Learning is still doing a booming business. As of February 18th, they had 1,650 registrants and 5 courses, I think, were over 100 participants each. So that's good. And that's about what we're working. The major donors party that we usually have in the spring, we cannot have, obviously. So we're going to be sending out bookmarks in a letter thanking people for being major donors this year. And the bookmarks are going to have little seed papers inside that you can plant in your yard for wildflowers, or I guess that's what they are, wildflowers. So we're working on that right now too.
Nice idea.
Thanks, Tracy. Any questions for Tracy?
Thank you.
Oh, that's great.
Are there any other reports? Okay, under old business, long-range planning. Tavi, did you want to speak to that at all, or?
Yeah, I can just elaborate. I have actually, I got a lot from that strategic planning workshop, but I just want to give some highlights on it. Some of the things we discussed was like, and incidentally, I think that the MBLC and MLS, Massachusetts Library System, I think they've really made the requirements a lot more flexible. Like, for example, they talked about whether you want to use a mission statement or a vision statement, that, one is more broad and can be less specific to kind of encapsulate things, get people more interested in it. They highlighted the user needs assessment. So I think that's one of the things that they kind of emphasized. I think it's really important when we put a document like this together, as Snow Library always has, to consult with people and people in the community, people in different the groups associated with the library, so that you really have a document that everybody's pleased with. You can contact the MBLC anytime if you have any questions. One of the things that made me feel a lot better about it is that if we desire it, MLS will read our long-range plan and kind of critique it and look it over before we submit it to the MBLC if we have any questions about it. So I think that's really good. MLS staff can facilitate workshops on focus groups or anything like that. When we broke out into some individual sessions, I thought, though, there were twice we did that during the meeting. And what I liked about that is the range of other people at the workshop that you could chat with. And there were some people who had a lot of experience doing long-range planning documents, and other people who this was their first year. And some of them were very much in favor, especially if you're new to it or you haven't done that many, of having a consultant as opposed to just a facilitator. So it depends. If you really want a lot of the legwork done, you would more go with a consultant as opposed to a facilitator. So that's something else to think about. There were a couple of books that Michelle Eberly, the presenter, talked about. Although she did mention the book that I've been using here, this one called The New Planning for Results by Sandra Nelson. She acknowledged that was like the standard, but there are some that are upgraded a little bit. Manual for Strategic Planning for Cultural Organizations. So I was going to acquire a copy of that. And also another book, Start With Why, by Simon Sinek. So I think I'm going to get both of those so that the committee, when we form it, can take advantage of those if we want to. I certainly want to read those. And let's see, there's some software you could use. I think a lot of the people attending were a little concerned especially the ones who are really doing it right now, concerned about how you would do the community forums when you're really not supposed to gather in large groups. So there was some talk about that. I'm thinking of attending some of the future workshops just to hear some more about that. And another thing that I thought was vital to this is they talk about the decision about whether to have a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan. And I think there are reasons for doing both of those. And I think probably just one of the other things is they emphasize, make sure you have no less than 3, but no more than 5 goals. And I think that's important too, because the workshop leader, Michelle Eberly, had said, you really need to do something that's manageable. If you start having a document that's this multi-page document with all the tasks, there's a tendency to accomplish less. Your goal might be, your overall accomplishments might seem greater, but it turns out not to be. So I think those are the things that I took away from the workshop. Those are the really important things. And it certainly has made me want to attend another one and maybe just to be able to have conversations with some of the attendees as well.
So I would just add to Tavi's very good summary there is that I think although there's the challenge associated with potentially maybe not being able to pull people together in person, there's actually advantages to doing these group sessions or community sessions via Zoom for a variety of reasons. You get more attendance and there's things you can do that are actually quite productive. So I think I would, like Tavi, I would argue for sure we want to get a facilitator for the community sessions, absolutely. And we're going to absolutely want to do a survey. But the only other thing I would add is the timeline for this. And there's one of the slides in the packet that Tavi distributed that kind of shows a possible timeline. And I think it's quite realistic, actually, where it's essentially an 8 or maybe a 9-month process from start to finish. So it's making me think that we could start in the summer and we would finish in the spring. So, Joan.
Hey, Tavi, I just went to this seminar for 3 days and was hosted on this site called Socio. It was really great because you can like jump into different rooms and you can have conversations. And they did 3 half-hour trainings. It was with Zoom, but it really worked out so well. And you can keep your videos there. So I don't know if that's one that the library board uses, but I thought it was quite helpful. And then people could put notes there and send you documents. It was one step above Zoom.
Yeah, they mentioned that particular software. They talked about a couple of others, at it, but I think that's all part of what we'll need to investigate.
Yeah, I was just saying it does help versus Zoom. Having that extra leg to put all those things in really was quite beneficial.
All right, Joan, I know you have to go, so
thank you.
Sign off.
Bye.
See you later. So, any other questions or comments related to what Tavi just had to say? Okay, thank you, Tavi.
Thank you.
Any other business? Not seeing any. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we'll call that a second. I think I saw Jan first. So.
Okay, whomever. Great meeting. Great meeting.
All right. Well, thank you all for your hanging in there, and we'll see you soon. Enjoy the